That
Hey,
is
Charnell.
Sharnell.
Hi.
Why do you look like you're still in high school?
I know.
No, I do not look like high
Yes, you
school.
do.
Ah,
You look exactly the same.
Wow.
Well,
Oh,
welcome.
as well. I like the gray in the front. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I guess I'll start by introducing Sharnell. Sharnell, I know her as Sharnell Williams. She is now Sharnell Blevins. So I just want to introduce how I met Sharnell, and then I'll go to Valerie, and Valerie can tell everybody how she met Sharnell.
If you remember that, I don't know, maybe I'll owe you $100 or something.
I don't remember exactly the day we met, but it was in the 7th grade, right? At Dodson.
Yeah.
And could have been, I don't think we were on the same bus.
We weren't on the same bus. I think we were in the same class.
Yeah. So we had Miss Nelson, but we also had a few other classes together. But I met Sharnell and I had a bunch of other friends. We all kind of hung out through junior high and then high school. And then she ended up marrying the president of the Black Student Union at USC, where I went. And I don't know if I knew him, but I knew of him. So Sharnell and I go way back. And then Valerie, how did you meet Sharnell?
Well, I met Sharnell many years later when our daughters were in high school.
Yeah.
So a whole generation from when you guys met. So our daughters played on the Windward girls basketball team together for, was it 3 years?
Yeah.
Because Jazzy came in.
Camilla's a year younger than Jasmine.
Yeah.
And so they played together for 3 years.
Yes. So that's how we met. And lo and behold.
How long ago was that?
Well,
7 years ago.
Let's see. Camille's been out of high school for 3 years.
7 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Time is
just graduated from the University of Southern California. So
she did.
Yep.
Oh, congratulations.
Yep.
Awesome. Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And
she may graduate next year though, right?
Yeah, she'll be graduating next year. Yeah, from Pomona College. So it's crazy.
So I discovered that Valerie knew Sharnell through Facebook, I think. I saw that Valerie posted something under one of Sharnell's posts, and I was like, wait a minute. Valerie, you know her? So then we ended up seeing each other at one of Sharnell's plays, which I really want to talk about too. Because, well, first let's hear from Sharnell about your family. Tell us about your motherhood and all you've accomplished.
Oh my goodness. My family. So as both of you guys know, I'm a mother of 6 children.
That's one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you, because I think when we first met, I was like, oh yeah, I have 4 kids. And you're like, well, I have 6. And I was like, whoa, okay. Back up, Val.
Yours are better spaced apart though than mine. But I wouldn't have had it any other way, because if I had them spaced apart the way that you do, I think I wouldn't have had as many. So there is, well, just under 7 years between them. So I had 6 and under. When I had my last one, Jasmine turned 7 about 8 weeks later.
Oh man.
So,
oh my goodness.
So we have 3 girls and 3 boys.
They're
actually born girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy.
Oh. You like to do things really organized. Like you have a pattern to your life, right?
I didn't do any of that. None of them were planned. That's a story for a different podcast.
I can talk about it here too.
Oh, gosh. Oh, I have a similar story anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, that makes, wait, what that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 children unplanned just between the three of us.
Yes. And I think I have the only set of twins.
Oh, you do? I didn't know you had
Yeah.
twins.
The fourth pregnancy was a set of twins.
Wow.
And yeah, boy girl set.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the last one who's still at Windward.
Okay.
He was the baby. We thought we were done and he should not medically be here, but he's here. So
Wow. Amen.
Yeah. So Clifton and I did get married. Let me let your audience know that. We ended up getting married and having children.
After you had your kids?
Before. They're all his.
Okay.
They're all his.
No, not to say they're not. Because
No, I didn't take it in a bad way, Valerie. I didn't take it in a bad way. We just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, and Jasmine will be 23 this year.
Congrats.
And we've been together 31 years. That's just weird.
Sharnell.
It's weird to say. But we're still going strong. He still keeps me around. I'm not going anywhere. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of fun. And COVID blessed us in a sense of my children got to spend a full year together, 18 months, almost a year and a half, together in the same house, learning each other as young adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because 4 years ago when Jasmine went to college, Michael was 11. I don't know if I can count, by the way. But he was 11 going on 12. And she would come home in the, for breaks and for summers. And she's like, oh, okay. So he was kind of still the pesky little brother. And she was kind of seen as the bullying big sister. Not to say that he was pesky or she was a bully, but I know you guys get it. And they got to spend this time in my dinner table when they talk about life and talk about issues and give intelligent conversation. They even have a rap battle every once in a while, a freestyle battle that goes on at my table. The child who wins is not the child that I thought would win for musicality or really being into hip hop, but she wants to be a writer, a journalist, and so she pulls words together out of the sky a lot better than some of the others. So it's been a really interesting time for us this last year, and it's just been a blessing to have them together.
Yes, definitely.
To talk and it's funny how it comes out now, because now it's like, oh, can you take me to work? Oh, can you take me to the store? Can we go and do this together? And they're all working together. And so right now I have 5 of the 6 children are working outside the home this summer, and 3 would go off to college in 3 different places, from Washington, D.C. to Tucson, Arizona to Whittier, California. And I have a child who wants to go into the military this fall to the United States Marine Corps. And in less than 6 months, I could be just me and my husband and the youngest at home. So
wow.
Because Jasmine is doing what all young adults after college is trying to do: get a job, get out, move.
Right.
They're treating me like a child, so I need to go. So yeah.
Wow, that sounds exciting. I mean, and I know it's a wonder just to sit back sometimes and just watch this phenomenon kind of evolve and develop as you're, watching your kids interact with each other. It's beautiful. I love it.
And especially when they start to interact as adults.
Right.
Like, wow. Okay.
And when you think about how the pandemic is like a once in a, not even a lifetime, once in a multi-lifetime event, that we got to witness and kind of benefit from, even though I know there's a lot of people that didn't and suffered from it. And I think we were all kind of blessed to have the kids there. And it was the same thing watching them work together. And even now, like you said, they just want to be a family and stay together. So it did help in some way.
Yeah. It was crazy. And it's almost scary to say that it was a blessing, but it slowed us down.
Right.
And I'm an introvert. So I'm really sad with the city and the state and the nation and the world opening up. Because I like when people were at home. Because if I wanted to go somewhere, we live in Los Angeles. If I wanted to go somewhere, it was easy to get around the city.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And then I didn't have to be with a whole bunch of people. Unless I wanted to be, which it's funny because a lot of people don't believe I'm an introvert. Probably Lea would know the most that I am, real quiet. But now I've compensated for that in my adult life.
Well, I don't see you as an introvert. I see you more as private, maybe, but with an outgoing quality. I think you're not an introvert to me. I think you're just Sharnell, and you like you like certain people and you're comfortable in certain spaces, is the way I see it.
That's true. Valerie, I have to tell you, and she can show you, but she cannot put this in this podcast.
Okay.
Lea, if she still has it, her favorite picture of me is one of my pictures I absolutely hate.
With your hair?
Yes.
I like
this picture. My hair fell. It was foggy. I was all cute when I got to school and it fell, and I have a lot of it. And it was just like, my hair is naturally straight, so it won't curl up into an afro. And so, but it's huge. And she goes, I like this picture. This is so you. And I go, can you just put that picture away? Just don't show. But
because in the 80s, we all like to feather our hair.
Yeah.
And so the girls will put rollers in it sometimes. And I know Sharnell would sometimes come with the roller and then just pull it out and brush it back.
Yeah.
And since it was foggy that day, her hair kind of, boop, it was just so cute.
I remember when Lea got her first car.
The Nova.
Yeah.
It was a 69. Is that, you're talking about the Celica?
No, I'm talking about the Celica.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
that was my first new car.
Yeah, that was her first new car. And then she painted the hood. I thought that was so cool. She painted the hood.
You painted it yourself, Lea?
A design on the hood.
I think it was on the rear window. I had the handwriting put on. Remember my lollipop love? I still have that back at Sharnell. I had it handwritten on the window.
You painted the hood of the car. See, this is what happens when you get old friends together.
And that sounds totally like Lea to paint the hood of her car.
I put a car bra on it. I don't remember painting it though.
Yeah, you painted it. I remember the bra. The bra was on top of the paint, but you painted the hood. That's when you had also painted the mural in your room that I just love.
Yeah, the Michael Jackson one.
She's always been creative. Okay. I'm not surprised. Anything that Sharnell says about you creatively, I'm not. You cannot deny.
Was just so creative. And, I'm the only thing I'm bummed about is I didn't realize that she had went directly to USC out of Narbonne.
Yeah.
I didn't find out she went to USC till a lot later.
So what's the age difference? Were you already there? Oh,
yeah.
Wait, where did you do your undergrad?
I went to El Camino because our college counselor told me I wouldn't be able to get into college I wanted to. Because I dropped a grade point average when I was a cheerleader on campus.
Well,
and then I ended up going anyway. Howard University was the school I wanted to go to. And I ended up getting in a year later on my high school grades.
Okay.
See?
There
you
go.
And
then I came back and went to, I have a really long, arduous educational pathway.
Well, tell
I
us
have
about
3
it.
undergraduate schools that I went to.
Which
And
ones?
then had
Yeah,
my
go ahead and
family
tell
went
us
back
about
for
it.
my master's.
Mhm.
Which schools did you go to, Sharnell?
So I went to El Camino College and I spent 3 semesters there. And then I went to Howard University and spent 4 semesters. I was a business major. And at the time that I graduated high school, I wanted to become a pediatrician. I wanted to be a medical doctor.
I remember that.
And so I got into Howard, into the School of Business. And my advisors at El Camino was like, go change your major once you get there. And so when I got there, I talked to the pre-professional counselor and we had looked at my grades and she was like, why are you trying to change into a science major? Keep your business major because you have great grades and the medical schools are taking more. They're not taking just science majors. They really want a more well-rounded medical student that has other interests than just science and math. So I kept in the business school, and that's when it started to dawn on me that maybe I was in the wrong career. I was chasing the wrong dream. And I shouldn't say it happened at Howard. It actually started happening at El Camino. I took some literature classes, was reading some books that I had never read before, of course, and really wanted to get into that. And so had applied to Howard as an undecided major and got into the School of Business. And took some literature classes there and enjoyed them. But as happens to many of our college students, I wanted to pay for college by myself. I wanted to do it on my own. I got into some financial situations and ended up had a job that brought me back home and would pay for my college and pay me at the same time.
Wow.
And so I came back to work for Golden State Minority Foundation, which was founded by Golden State Mutual Life Insurance Company, a Black-owned and operated insurance company. And it was one of the top 3 insurance companies in the nation. And they own the largest African-American art collection in the country. They're no longer around as an organization, but a lot of the art that you see in Los Angeles was owned by them. A lot of the Black art, some of the original pieces. And so came home and went to Pepperdine because the Cal States were so impacted when I came back, and finished with a business degree because it was easy at that time. At that time, I was like, I just got to get out. This is going on. My 5th or 6th year in college. I got to stop. I got to get a degree. I can't do this anymore. And I had taken science classes many different times. But at Howard, I really wanted to start to think about literature and didn't get that chance because of how I probably could have slowed it down, but you know, you're young at that time. You just think, I got to get this over with. And I remember, you remember Miss Chagnovich, Miss Chag? I remember sitting in Miss Chag's class. She was an English teacher. She just retired from Narbonne, or she's still, because my current boss went to Narbonne. She graduated in the early 2000s, and Miss Chag is her favorite English teacher, and Miss Chag is one of my favorite teachers. And so Miss Chag got in front of us as 12th graders and looked at us, and she said, I'm tired of teaching English. You've been learning English for 12 years. I'm not doing this anymore. We're not doing 13 years. We're going to read and we're going to write and we're going to do all this stuff, but I am not teaching you grammar, any of that. And it was horrible for me as a student in a way, because I was like, I'm finally ready to learn all that stuff. She's not teaching it. And we had we read some great books and really did some really wonderful essays, but her red pen really gelled me. I don't know another word right now. It's the end of the day, so forgive me for my language, but really confined me, because I would pour my heart out in my essays and in her red pen. Which is really like, okay, I'm not a good writer. And so I really didn't pursue that craft. And I wish somebody had asked me the question that I asked my 6 children when they are looking for, or 5 of my kids when they get to high school. So I asked all 6 of them, what do you like to do that no one else can tell you to do? That if I never ask you to do, what would you do anyway? What do you love doing? And that's where they've chosen their majors in. Because I'm like, go and choose your major. Because this generation of kids are not, my dad is 80 years old. He's worked for the same company for 50 plus years. He works for a major airline. My kids are not going to do that. That's not this 21st century kids. They're not going to stay at the company, that they join after college necessarily and stay with it for 50 years. And they probably won't stay in the same career. They'll do something that adds on to it. And so I asked them that, like, what do you like doing now? I never have to tell you to do. So Jasmine loved the stage, loved writing screenplays and plays and things like that. And so she has a degree in theater with a minor in screenwriting and sports media industries. And so she's pursuing that right now, working for a major player in the sports industries. And then my second oldest is into history. And so he wants to be a high school history teacher. That's what he decided to do. My third one, she loves fashion, loves everything about putting yourself together. And she's like, I like writing. So she wants to be a fashion journalist.
Okay.
My fourth child, he loves the military and wants to experience the United States Marines and to honor us by protecting our country.
Wow.
And then number 5, his twin is like, I love photography. And I'm like, pursue it. Go do it and see if that's what you want to do. And she has some really great pictures that she takes and knows how to modify them on a phone as well as computer. And I'm just like, go do and see what happens. And I've had people tell me, in fact, I had someone tell me when Jasmine was deciding to go into school that she needed a plan B. And I'm like, they're 18. They don't need plan B. Right. Now they're 35, still sleeping on my couch and saying, I want to be. Right. Listen, they've been doing that for about 15 years. Then we need to talk. We really need to talk. But, at 18, you expect them to do that. And let's see what we can do and follow their dreams. And I think that's one of the things that's really special about the 3 of us is that whatever life has thrown at us, we keep following our dreams.
Right. Right.
We keep
doing
that.
So how, go ahead, Lea.
Go ahead, Val.
Well, I was just going to say, how did you transition from this business major to this playwright?
And
in between
when did that happen?
Having your children, how did that come to pass?
I remember when Jasmine was little. So I'm a woman of faith. I think both of you guys know that I'm really big about my faith. And so we used to live in North Inglewood, Ladera. And Jasmine was little and I was picking her up from my parents' house. And I was driving north on the 405 freeway and I felt that I knew I had heard this voice saying, you're going to be a writer. And I was like, yeah, right, whatever. That's not going to happen. And she was the only child that we had at the time. And then I have a friend who was an editor for an online magazine at the time. And so she said, will you come write for me? Before you had to pay, to have subscriptions to things and ads were all over the place, like you see with the LA Times or the Ebony or whatever you're going to pull up and read. A Newsweek, you're going to get, do you want to subscribe? Right. And it's online. And so I start writing for her and she started fueling me. And I thought this could be something. And so I started my first book. I actually finished my first book, but it's like everybody's first book. It needs to be edited and restructured a little bit.
When was it?
Pardon me?
When did you finish your first book? How old were you?
I finished my first book, gosh. Okay, so I've been out of school for 2 years with my MFA. I must have finished my first book about 2 years before that. So 6 years ago, but it took
Okay.
me 8 years to write it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally just settled down and wrote it, and didn't know what to do with it next. Had sent it to some places and did some things and used the portion of it to get into grad school.
Mhm.
I wanted to, I'm an educational snob. I'm an educate, and it just has to do with the way that I grew up. You need to have an education, and you need to have it from you need to have it for your craft so you understand your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that could be life education depending on what your craft is, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had never had formalized teaching and in writing per se. Business writing, yes, but in fiction
Right.
and nonfiction and
Creative.
poetry and all that stuff, no. So I wanted to get that degree and I wanted that piece of it. And so I applied for grad school and thought I would, because I live in Los Angeles and there's not a lot of creative writing programs here, thought I would have to do the online route,
Mhm.
and ended up finding Mount St. Mary's University.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I was excited about that because it's here in Los Angeles. I could do it hybrid or on campus or completely online.
Is that
And
the one by
when I
USC?
graduated, pardon me?
Is that the one by USC or
It is. So they have two campuses. They have one that's below the Getty, but on the side
Yeah.
of
Mm.
UCLA.
Right.
So it's off of Wilshire. But their graduate schools are all on by USC off of Adams and
Yeah.
Big.
Okay. I remember that one, that campus.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go
That's
on.
that's a gorgeous campus. It's the Doheny Campus. It was the first gated community in the United States. It was owned by
Mm.
the Doheny family.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's all these craftsmen, it's just gorgeous homes. It is what it sits. And
Uh-huh.
they've added some modern homes and they renovated some on the inside, but they're gorgeous sitting behind that church on Fig,
Wow.
the Catholic Church on Fig and Adams. And so got into the program. And what's so funny about it being in Los Angeles, I wanted my kids at the ceremony when I got hooded. My kids ended up not going to my graduation because we graduated on a Monday. I thought, graduation would be a Friday or a Saturday or Sunday. We graduated on a Monday during statewide testing, during, AP testing.
Right. Right.
And I could not, and even Jasmine being in college, my two college students were like, we have finals. So no one came to graduation. Well, my mother and father and my sister and my husband did. And it actually ended up being even a better celebration because I was not mom, I was the
Right.
graduate.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
I didn't have to worry about, stop that, don't hit, stop, come here. And so it was really a great, great day. And I have my MFA, but at Mount St. Mary's, I found myself. I have a professor who's a mentor now. He's the director of the program who allowed me to be every part of who I was. It's hard in today's society to be a Christian, to have a Christian faith, to be a wife with 6 children,
Right.
to be a mother,
Mhm.
to be Black,
Mhm.
because I present as African American, um, to be a Black woman, uh, to be from Oklahoma with a history of Native American. All of who I am, to have sons, to have daughters, to be a daughter myself, and aunts and everything that's a part of me. I found that in my writing. I was allowed to be able to write, and so my website the theme is all of me. You'll get all of me out of the different things, and then in that, I was shocked to find out that my affinity is to playwriting and to because I took it on a whim. So I was like, I'm going to be a fiction writer. I'm going to write all these books. Who knows? You might see a whole bunch of books for me in the future. Who knows? So what's interesting to me is I started in the Mount St. Mary's program to be a fiction writer, to write long form. A couple of semesters in, my professor had told me in the fiction class, there's a couple of classes you need to take. You need to take poetry, you need to take playwriting, and you need to take, I can't remember the third one. And so with poetry, it's moving the language around, you know, playing with the language, playing with rhythms. In playwriting, it's about dialogue. And so it's how people talk to one another. It wasn't that what I wrote before wasn't good, but to strengthen it, to take these other classes. And one of the things I love about Mount St. Mary's is that you're not locked into a genre. You're actually able to explore all these different genre and types of writing, and you really become proficient in being a writer. I looked at one of my classmates who's a really good friend now, and I'm like, look, I'm going to take playwriting and screenwriting next semester. You want to take it with me? I'm going to jump off this cliff. Will you take it with me? And she said yes. And when I look at Jasmine, because Jasmine was like new to USC and she loved screenwriting. And I'm like, how do you do that? How do you talk about stuff and you don't tell me what the air smells like or how crisp the sky looks or what color dress I might have on or where I'm sitting? You only talk about dialogue and you leave. And she also, Jasmine is a playwright. And so I was like, how do you do that? And so I did it that semester, and the professor looked at me and said, you're a playwright. You get it. Your dialogue is just so on it that you paint the room with your dialogue. And I was like, no, yeah, whatever. He's like, no, you're a playwright. And then when I started to think about his affirmations into me about my writing, one of my first plays to see, or one of my first musicals, was Debbie Allen playing Sweet Charity at the Dorothy Chandler. I remember that, and I wore my 9th grade white dress that I wore at graduation to that. And so I used to watch musicals at home. I loved plays growing up. My husband, when we would go out to date, he would take me to jazz concerts, which unfortunately, if they didn't have a vocalist, I would fall asleep because they were so comfortable to me to be around the music. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I like the words, which actually right now makes sense to me. It just dawned on me why I like words. Okay. But we would do plays. That's what he wanted to go to jazz concerts, so I would do that with him, and I would go say, let's do plays, and he would go to plays with me. And so I had all this non-academic instruction on plays. Mm-hmm. And so I had this all this with me. That's what I poured out. And the play that you guys saw, which is one of my first plays, is about a 20-year-old Black boy winning, $500 million in the lottery, and how that affects him, his family, and his society around him. And I pulled that from the headlines. It was right after Trayvon Martin and all the stuff that happened and I feel like I blanked it all out, but the stuff that was happening all across the nation, mm-hmm. in New York and the East Coast with Black males and what was happening. But there was an article in the LA Times or somewhere about a 20-year-old who had actually won $500 million in the lottery, and he wasn't Black. And so the juxtaposition for me with Trayvon Martin and everything that was happening to Black men at the time, and this was not way before, but before George Floyd, what would happen to this 20-year-old kid if he was a Black male? And so I wanted to play with that, and I wrote that and ended up doing it for my thesis and played with it some more. And that's what you guys saw. And it's been workshopped at Sunset Gower Studios at the San Diego Rep. I'm still playing with it a little bit and doing some things and sent it off, but got a favorable response. People like it. And I've done some other things in playwriting. I've just recently published a monologue in the 0846 monologue collection. It's called I Did Not Raise My Son to Die. And it's all the writers or all the playwrights who presented monologues were inspired by things that happened to them during COVID, specifically around the George Floyd. So being Black in America, basically. That came to me thinking as a mother who has a son who wants to be in the Marines, and us raising him the way that we did, middle income, upper middle income. You're going into the what? You want to do what? And I'm really thinking about it, which I'm totally fine with his choice. He's an adult. He wants to do that and he has a passion for it. And why would I limit him for his passion? I don't know what his purpose is for that. Mm. And so thinking about that, and then thinking about so many Black mothers who are in the street holding their baby's head, you know, when someone has taken their life. And so I did a monologue on that, a mother just sitting there holding her son's head and talking to the police and the people around about getting somebody to help, and why are they bringing in more police and not an ambulance? And so she goes through this whole period of time that she's talking about her son and how wonderful he is. And he just happened to be coming home with a Pepsi for her. He went to the grocery store while she was cooking, and she was cooking his favorite meal, which was sweet potatoes. And so I did that, and it's been published, and I'm really excited about that piece. And I did another piece, COVID, I can't even think of what the second word is, which was about an African-American woman doctor whose husband is in a COVID unit. I like that story too. It was read on Facebook by the repertory. I can't even think now. So excited about it being read. And of course, I taped it completely by the Billie Holiday Theater. They did 50 playwrights and 50 artists read their work, and Love in the Time of Corona, Love in the Time of COVID, but Love in the Time of Corona. And so we follow this doctor from looking at her husband in the hospital bed to going to take care of one of her patients. And then here's a code for his room. And she has to go back to see what happened. And so I guess I have tragedy. I just, you know, it's not always happy stories in my short monologues. But yeah, I really like the rhythm of the words and how people talk.
It sounds like you've always been a writer. What is your earliest memory? And how did you get past the wall of your 12th grade teacher and that red pen? I mean, because you're a business major, you graduate as a business major. When did this love affair with words, when did it start? Like I can tell, for me, I knew when I was 16 and I was just journaling. And then the journaling of just what happened to me today developed into poetry. And then it moves on. And so I've had this relationship with words, although I absolutely hated freshman composition in college. I just detested it because it boxed me in. So when did your love affair start?
So I've always been a reader. I told you a few moments ago that I asked my kids what would they do. If someone had asked me what would I do without you begging me to do it, I read all the time. Mm-hmm. I read whatever you put in front of me, including the cereal box when you're at breakfast, right? My kindred spirits. And so my mother taught me to read real early. They wanted to skip me in school because I could read everything. And so I just have this passion for reading. And my mother, the earliest thing that I remember about writing is the story my mother tells. And my mother tells a story when I was in elementary school, like, and she probably could tell you the exact age, that I wrote a story about baseball from the viewpoint of a baseball.
Mm.
And the teacher had said she had never seen this type of writing from a student, but I never took that with me. It's interesting growing up being Black in America, being a Black female in America. And at the time we grew up, which was, you got to be better. You got to do, you got to do what you got to do. And you have to be able to support yourself. So education was the point for my family. And I didn't play around with the arts. I didn't even know. My family was like education, but didn't know about the arts.
Right.
And so I was classified as gifted. I was in a meeting today. I work for a school board member. I work for the school district. And I was in a meeting today or yesterday, and I said, I'm so glad we no longer tell kids their IQ scores. Because when we were all at Dotson, we knew our IQ scores.
We knew we were all gifted.
Yeah, and we knew how gifted we were, and we knew the teachers weren't as gifted as we were. We knew our IQ scores, so yeah.
So you got that job. Remember when I saw you at the district? You were there for an interview.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got
I didn't get that job though. I didn't get that job, but I just recently came back to the district in February.
Okay.
But
welcome back.
Thank you. But I pursued the science and math. I always knew I wanted to work with kids. And that's why I brought up the job that pays the bills. Because sometimes art doesn't do that. And so
I'll relate.
Yeah. Yeah, we all can. And so I didn't pursue it. And then I sat down, as I said, my 12th grade year, because I had been reading like crazy. And after I got my degree and married my husband, I ended up working for the American Cancer Society and with their youth programming. And they wanted to publish a youth program called Rap and Cancer. And rap was big during then, and they did cancer prevention for youth by did a rap album and some other stuff that they had with it. And they wanted to write about it. And they said, that's your program, you're over it, go do. And I didn't create the program, but I had to write the paper. And so it was being presented to the Conference of Tobacco Control in the nation, a huge conference that everybody who does this kind of work comes together. And I had to go through the whole editing process. So I had to write it and then submit it to them, and they would send it back from editors and then make changes and send it. But I had the communications director and my director, cancer control director, she was like, write it. The two ladies were like, write it. And I said, but I have to tell you, I really don't like pouring my work out and then we're working on it. I'm okay with working on it, but once you say it's final, for you to come back and tear it up again. So will you work with me? Because I was really scared of it. And they said, yeah, we'll work with you. They said, we promise that we'll continue to work with you collaboratively. And then once we said it's done, we won't tell you to go back and change it.
Okay.
And so I did that, and they really baby stepped me. And by the way, this is after I had a grant writing certificate. So I have a grant writing certificate from the Grantsmanship Center, which is very well known in the nonprofit world in Los Angeles, and had people there talking about, oh my gosh, the way you tell your stories will really bring donors in to wherever you write to. But I still wasn't really confident in my writing. And so that was the first time, and it was published. So I am published in a trade magazine, a trade journal. And then my girlfriend going, come on, I love your writing, because I would write little things. And she was like, no, come on and work for me. And that's what took me over the edge. And so now it comes easy to me. I don't know about what you guys did with your journals and stuff from high school and college. I don't even keep a journal anymore, but which is horrible, but that's a long story. But I threw all that writing away.
Oh no.
And when I came back from Howard, I was like, where is my writing? like all the letters that we used to write to each other because we couldn't text each other. We used to write out letters and hand them off at school and talk about your hopes and dreams and where you're going. And all the wire notebooks that I have. I don't have any of the writing that I had. And my husband and I were somewhere. You know how you do that bingo game to learn people in the room?
Yeah.
And someone said, what's the last thing that you wrote? And I was like, oh, I wrote a poem yesterday. My husband was like, you wrote a what? I didn't even realize that I was doing all this little stuff over time because I wasn't keeping a notebook. By the way, I don't keep journals. I'm better at it. And I don't think this way now, but the reason that I did not get into keeping journals was because I was, as Lea said earlier, I'm a private person. And when you write something down, someone else is going to read it and they might misinterpret it. It's the reason Oprah won't, she told Gail to destroy all her journals when she dies, because someone else might read it and misinterpret it. And so I was really scared of the written word in a sense, especially if it was a personal word. And so when I talk about Mount St. Mary saying it's okay to be all of you, that's when I stopped being afraid of that writing stuff down and the word. I was at an event earlier this week and one of my colleagues was with me and I was taking notes, but what I was taking notes on, she was like, you are really a writer. Because I was writing it, but like different phrases that people say things or the way, little catchphrases, they wouldn't call it a catchphrase because it's part of what they were saying. But I would write it down because I'm like, oh, I love the way those words come together. That's a great sentence. And she was like, oh my goodness, you are really a writer. And our team has only been together during COVID. So the opening of society and being together, we get to see these little things about each other that we talk about. And so for her to say that, it really melted my soul because I was like, she sees me. She sees me.
I know it's so weird because when you were talking, the phrase that jumped out to me was the red pen. Because when you said it and how it confined you, it became alive, and I could see a whole story being written with that phrase, the red pen.
And then we went to green. So when I edit friends' stuff, and it's horror to me what happens on their end. So when I edit in my systems, everything is green or purple or something.
Oh, not red.
Right, it's not red. I can't edit in red. It just drives me crazy. But when I'm sitting next to them or they send it back to me and it's all red, I'm like, oh, how dare I do that to your writing, to your baby? I just slashed them up. Yeah, I have to thank Miss Chag for that. I do not edit red.
So did you have an idea for the name of the song?
I liked either the red ink idea or the Dreams on a Dime. Because do you like the new Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak song?
Show enough. I sure do. I love it.
I wanted to do something kind of old school and upbeat like that for Sharnell's, is what I was thinking.
Okay. It could just be our interpretation of the title.
Yeah.
Dreams on a Dime. Although, I mean, I remember some aspects of it, the lottery, winning the lottery, him being harassed, the grandmother. Yeah. So I think how I would prepare for it is I would go to her website. I would try to find a synopsis of the story and then just try to see what it means to me, or Dreams on a Dime, red ink. I like that as a title, red ink.
Red ink.
Red ink.
What mood do you hear?
Well, it can be about rewriting what is, or it can be about
taking notes. Oh,
well, usually
how about mistakes.
Yeah, like rewriting your mistakes, or
not letting your mistakes hamper you from moving forward. Because I think that's what the red ink was doing to Sharnell.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so many ways that you could go with it. Yeah, but either one, because it's like, ooh, what what is that going to be about? It's kind of intriguing. It's kind of mysterious, like for a title, Red Ink. And it sounds good rolling off the tongue, Red Ink.
So kind of hip-hoppy, hip-hop-ish.
Yeah, kind of like something sassy with attitude. Well, come on, let's do it. What, Red Ink?
Mm-hmm. Like say something.
Let's see. Red Ink. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna put it on some red ink. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Can
you hear that click?
Hey, 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 hey. San Francisco. Yeah. That sounds good. Whatever you did. Swim, I sink, swim, I sing. Ready. Okay, what do I want to say? What do I want to say? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Hey baby, say that. Let's see.
So you're in the key of D, right? D.
I'm in D. D, close to E. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yes, so it hey. When you're ready, say you ain't too late, gotta let your face, gotta let your way, gotta ain't no day, gotta let your face, gotta let your day, gotta let, see there ain't no way, gotta check my face, gotta lay your head, hello, 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 as I see your feet so long. Yeah. Decide you're feeling for the way. Hey, and when you going outside, It'll be another day. Feel like I'm going insane. It's free ride, free ride. Dee-dee-dee. Da-da-da-da-dee. Da-da-da-da-da. It's a free ride, free ride. Dee-dee-dee, gonna pay. When you're going face to face, let us see the way. It's free to ride, free ride. Ain't no free to play. Oh. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What you say? What you say? 9 to 5, to the right, to the little way. Right. That's what we do.
I'm Leah.
I'm Val.
And we are.
Middle-aged moms making music.
So please subscribe.